And we see the Arabic meaning. You use that phone, calling, talking. Jawal, jawal, going around. Make a lot of calls. Call here, call there. That's what's called jawal in Arabic. Something that makes you connected. Stay connected. You're not connected for one day and that's it. You're connected. As long as it has the electric and the battery's charged, you're connected. At the tip of a finger, the push of a button, call, text, post, send, search. So the same thing is istighfar. You're seeking Allah's forgiveness. Laylan wa nahar, night and day. Sirran wa alaniyatan, open, public, secret. Qalilan wa kathiran. Small amounts of istighfar and a lot of amounts. Well, the Prophet said more than 70 times a day. That gives you the idea of what is istighfar. It's a lot. You cut that 70 in half, there's 35 times a day. Some people probably make istighfar 35 times in a month. 30 days, 29 days, that's once a day. On the average, 1.1 times a day. Once. 35. Prophet doing it 70 times a day. Well, fi riwayat al-migrat al-marra. In other words, he said 100 times a day. 70 the least, 100 the most or more.
7:02 p.m.
So this, the Prophet mentioned this, and Imam Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya brings it in his dawa, because this is the issue, the heart. When the believer does a sin and he gets the black spots, and he keeps going and he keeps going, but if he returns back to obedience to Allah, leaves the sin, and constantly seeks istighfar, the heart will become, as Shaykh Abdul Razak said, masaha. Allah will wipe it clean. Yuzakkahu. Allah will clean that heart from the sin. And why is this important? Because the sins have a bad effect on the person. That's the whole point why the Shaykh brings that, and then he starts to bring the effects of the sin. The Shaykh, he gives some example. He says, Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya, and then Shaykh Abdul Razak gives an example. So Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya, he brings a narration from Imam Ahmad. Stay with me. We're talking about the effects of sins on the heart. Then we're going to go back to the beginning of the book and handle those three issues really quickly. Inshallah. Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya is talking about the heart of the believer when it gets a black spot on it because of the sins that it does. And Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya said, this is like the statement of Allah, بَلْ رَانَ عَلَى قُلُوبٍ مَا كَانُوا يَكْسِبُونَ. Allah mentions in Surah Al-Mutaffifin about those people who are doing the bad deeds, and their deeds in the book that's lowly rather than heavenly. And these people are those who are denying the meaning of Allah with their statements and actions, or with both, or one and another. And this, Allah said, بَلْ رَانَ عَلَى قُلُوبِهِمْ مَا كَانُوا يَكْسِبُونَ. This is only because of the ran, the spots, the dirt, the smut, the rust on their heart because of what they did of sin. Ibn Qayyim Jawziyya said that hadith of the Prophet, when the believer does a sin, from amongst the sins that he does, he gets a black spot on his heart, is the explanation of Rana ala qulubihim ma kanu bal Rana ala qulubihim ma kanu yaksibun. This is the result of the sins, the rust, the dirt, the smut, the blackness on their heart because of and from what they used to do. May Allah protect us. Ameen. So Shaykh Abdul Razak said Imam Ahmad brings a statement in his Kitab al-Zuhd. He has a book called Musnad for Hadith. He also has the Kitab al-Zuhd, a book where he talks about purification of the soul and leaving the worldly things to do so. He said, Ibn Qayyim Jawziyah quotes this narration from Ahmad. Says, so, for example, this is showing you the effect of sins on the heart of the believer, which the Prophet is mentioning. Very small statement, but very impactful. So if you have a twig or some piece of wood, a shajara, piece of wood, a twig, a stick, he said this particular type of stick, it has the outer part and the inner part. The outer part and the inner part of the stick. So if you were to peel back the different parts around the outside of the stick, the inside will be exposed. The clear, clean part will be exposed. Or maybe on the inside is green or light white, but the outside is dirty. It's the outside bark of the tree. Peel it back. He said, so this is the example of what Prophet ﷺ is talking about when the believer when the Muslim does a sin, how the black spot gets on the heart, and it gets on the heart, and it gets on the heart. He said if it keeps getting on the heart, the effect of the sin on the heart is like someone having this twig of this branch, and they peel the outsides of this stick, this branch, this twig. What's going to happen to the inside that was covered, that was moist, that was untainted? It's going to start to change. The inside of that twig, that stick, that used to be covered and protected, is going to be vulnerable now. This is the same thing that the Prophet is saying, the same thing that Allah Ta'ala is saying with regards to the ayah, بَلْ رَانَ عَلَىٰ قُلُوبِهِمْ مَا كَانُوا يَكْسِبُونَ, and the statement of the Prophet sallam, إن المؤمن إن قلب المؤمن إذا أثب ذنبه يعني نعم نقطة سوداء نعم نقطة سوداء نعم نقطة سوداء وإذا تاب ونزع واستكفر يعني سقط سقطة. It will become clean. It will become clean. Now, or become bayda. As the Prophet said in another word. Now, so this, Shaykh Razak gave examples like, for example, a person has a mirror in his house. He likes to look in that mirror. And if he gets something on the mirror, some smudge, something dirties the mirror. If you take something to clean it, you won't just leave it like that when you see the mirror dirty. Get something and clean it immediately, because you don't like to look in the mirror and see the mirror dirty. It affects what you're looking at, which is your image in the mirror. You want the mirror to be clean, zaki, naqi. He said this is also the same thing that the Prophet ﷺ is talking about with regards to if the person does a sin, it affects and gets the mark on his or her heart. If they were to
7:09
return to what Allah loves, leave the sin and seek Allah's forgiveness constantly, it will clean the heart of that person like you clean that smudge off that mirror. He said this is also a inspiration and a clue that we should be rushing, as the Prophet ﷺ used to say, Mubadira ila yani tawbah, rush to make the tawbah. Don't delay it, because the longer you delay, the filth stays, and if you're doing sin, you just accumulate like this. Allah musta'an. Shaykh Razak also said, it becomes a seal on the heart. It becomes a lock on the heart. The heart is covered. He gives another example, then we'll go to the beginning of the book and mention these three things, inshallah ta'ala. And thank you for your patience. He said also, If a person has an instrument, a pipe, or some type of thing made out of wood or steel, and he goes to the ground that has no problems with regards to being broken or open, and he strikes a particular part of the ground. He strikes a particular part of the ground. He strikes, he's hit with this pipe or this hard piece of wood. Eventually going to see a mark on that ground. A mark in that dirt. A mark in that dirt. A mark in that dirt. He said until now the whole area that you're hitting, like a person who has an axe or a hoe, he's trying to turn the dirt over to put seeds. The whole ground is going to be, tore up. It's going to be in shambles. He said this is the example when you talk about the ayat Belran ala qulubihim. The more you do the sin and you let it stays, it's going to ruin that heart, like that person ruined that land with that object that he's striking the land with. Each strike is the sin. Each strike is going to damage the heart, and this is the result of the sin on the heart of the believer until he returns back to what Allah loves, leaves the sin, and is constantly engaged in seeking Allah's forgiveness. If you go back to the beginning of the book of Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya, he mentioned that a man came to him complaining about his sins, his dark sins, his great sins, his sins that haunt him. And the man was afraid if he doesn't find a way to get free, to reach min hadhi danub, it's going to destroy his life that he's living here on earth, and it will ruin his hereafter. He will be in the fire, be punished. So he asked the Shaykh to help him, tell him what to do. Shaykh Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya, the Imam, didn't say, come back tomorrow. Didn't say, okay, tell him something, that really is not going to help him. He didn't tell him something that was out of context and sent the man with no resolution. The Shaykh, he wrote a book. He wrote a book, Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya. And Shaykh Abdul Razak, he said, for him, he said, me, myself, Shaykh Abdul Razak, he said, I believe that man was sincere in asking that question, because look at the end result. The man asked the question. Seemingly, he benefited from the book, as it indicates that the man took what Ibn Qayyim wrote and he benefited from it. He changed his life, and all of those to come after that man that benefited from that book shows you the barakah, the blessing, the great gift that Allah put in one man's question for this ummah. One man's question changed so many people's lives because that book was written by Imam Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya as a jawab liman sa'ala an shifa kamila, for the one who asked for a complete way to treat his sicknesses. So therefore the Shaykh, he began, Imam Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya mentioned the likes of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ on the authority of Ayyub al-Ansari, and those other ahadith where the Prophet ﷺ mentioned ma anzalallahu da'an illa anzala ma'hu dawa na'am, kama qala, that Allah does not and has not sent down, will not and has not sent down any sickness. Da'in here means calamity, sickness, test, affliction, except that he sends down along with it, it's cure. Shaykh Abdul Razak said, and Allah sends it down doesn't mean that he sent it down as a way of being unjust, but that everything comes from above with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's already written that these things will take place. Now, Prophet also mentioned And another wording, alimahu man alima, jahilahu man jahila. And whoever Allah